EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365 as we get ready for preseason game number 3 tonight. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen. We'll be with you live for the next 2 hours here on Birds 365. Johnny Mac, how you doing on this Football Friday, brother?
Football Friday, I guess, in name only. I don't think it'll be as quite.
It's not Football Friday.
It's not going to be a Football Friday on Wednesday before the Dallas Cowboys come to town, but I think there's going to be a little bit more juice for that one than watching the New York Football Jets. Yeah, and preseason game 3, necessary evil. Don't want to downplay it for the guys you got to play because it's important for them, no doubt about it. They're trying to, convince Howie Roseman. One thing I've learned about Howie Roseman, it's not necessarily about who outplayed who. It's who he thinks he's going to lose on waivers. That's bit me on the ass before. It's one thing I've learned about him over the years. So, nobody has a better feel, and the easiest way to get claimed on waivers is to show up in these preseason games. Because again, other than the Cleveland Browns, unless somebody's pulling off some Patriots subterfuge, nobody's seen the Eagles practices. So, if you blast in front of them, other teams, you're more likely to get pilfered off waivers, and that is what generally Howie leans on. And then part of it, as I've said, is the new rules, not this year, but just in haven't been around very long. You can use 2 spots, put guys on injured reserve, short-term designated for return, like Johnny Wilson's going on season-ending injured reserve, but you can put guys who are going to be back, or guys who magically come up with a sprained ankle tonight, a younger player on injured reserve designated for return, and they're not out for the season. So a lot of ways you can manipulate that. Look at some of the veteran players. Like, I've said, I think it's possible that Brett Toth could be cut on Tuesday and be starting the next Thursday. Not the September 4th against the Dallas Cowboys. That wouldn't surprise me at all. The hope is Landon's back, obviously, but if he's not able to go, it wouldn't be surprising to me at all if he's cut and then he's brought back to the practice squad, because he doesn't have to go through waivers, and then elevated for the game and start the game. So that kind of manipulation.
John, we'll see what ends up happening. A lot of different ways how he can manipulate. I'm sure he will emphasize and use all of them to his advantage. John, any players tonight that you think really stick out here for the game tonight? I mean, there's a couple I think that come to mind. I'm looking for really players that could contribute or at least make the roster. You look at those receivers, probably look at those cornerbacks, but outside of that, I don't know how many actual good contenders for the team will play tonight. Anybody in your mind, John, that you're watching tonight?
Well, I think, Darius Cooper is probably the most interesting one for fans who seem to latch on to him. So I think that's probably, can he put a final stamp on his run towards, and again, if he plays a good game, that makes Howie think, well, maybe I can't get him through waivers, and I got to keep him. Now, the problem for all these guys is they're going to be out there with third-string guys, and I talk about with the quarterbacks all the time. So, FEMA relief, they're disaster areas, third-team reps in the NFL. So, it'll probably be ugly. Probably a little bit easier, I would say, for defensive players to stand out from that perspective. Patrick Johnson is a guy who is Mr. August, I like to call him now. He's just a great special teams player, and sometimes it works for him, sometimes it doesn't. He generally makes the team. Last year they had to cut him when they got a roster crunch in season, early in the season, and lost him. And he certainly outperformed, Aziz Ojulari, but I can't imagine that they would not keep Ojulari for Patrick Johnson. So the stuff like that is interesting.
I think the interior of that line too, there could be some interesting guys to watch tonight. Like, John, who makes it after Ty Robinson? Is it Gabe Hall? Is it Byron Young? Which one of those guys do you think prevails? And then I would assume both of them will play tonight.
Yeah, I mean, from my end, this is just personal perspective. I don't know how they do it, but I think Byron Young has the biggest upside of the entire group. But he's been hurt a while, hasn't been able, miss some practices. Everybody's talking about Gabe Hall. A lot of Gabe Hall talk, Gabe Hall this, Gabe Hall that. I just think Byron Young's better. But I don't know how you keep him, because you have to keep Ty Robinson. And if you're going to keep Gabe Hall, that's 5. You can't keep 6.
No.
That's a guy I'd like to see them find a way to hold on to him. Maybe he just gets through waivers and he's back.
Who would be better positioned to prevail in this defense if one of your top 3 tackles had an injury and missed time during the year? Carter, Ajomo, or Davis? I mean, think about it, John. They rotate more than 3 guys. So last year, I felt like we had good depth. If somebody went down, you at least would feel, okay, Thomas Booker's coming in. He's not as good, but I certainly know he can play. If one of those guys goes down, I don't know who to trust there. I think it's a big drop-off after 3.
Well, it is a big drop-off, but I think Young is, I think he's the best guy. I think people would be surprised if he got thrown into the deep end of the pool. I mean, or maybe not. If they knew he was the 70th pick in the draft. I mean, he's gifted. For whatever reason, I don't know what went on in Las Vegas other than, the little I've talked to him, but that's a bad organization at the time. I mean, I could just chalk it up to that.
Right.
But he has been, he did miss some time as well. But I'm like, Ty Robinson's not ready to play, period, end of sentence.
Well, I'm asking about Gabe and Byron,
Yeah, not to say he's not going to be a good player down the road, because sometimes some guys need time to develop, and he's one of those guys. Gabe is, probably more versatile because he's 6'6" and he can kick outside, and the Eagles have done that a little bit with their defensive tackles because the edge rushing situation isn't great on the backups. So he's got more versatility. I think that works in his favor. Young's not going to kick outside. But if I needed a defensive tackle after the first 3, Byron Young's first for me. But that sometimes it's not about that. It's about sometimes it is about versatility. And he's played and he's been healthy and he's gone the whole way. So I would give Gabe Hall the advantage, but for me, I would keep Byron Young around. But that's just my personal.
So is it possible that neither of them make the initial 53? Because they would probably both get through waivers. At least I would think they would both get through waivers. Maybe they wouldn't. But
that's another thing. I think Gabe's more likely to get through waivers than Byron, because Byron was the 70th pick. Similar,
I was just thinking with the injuries with Byron, I didn't know if he would get scooped.
Similar. Yeah, I mean the Eagles claimed off waivers the first time. So I think that's just more about people remembering him from the draft and saying, "Oh, I like that kid," and taking a shot. That's generally what happens. So I think from that standpoint, it's more Hall. But I do think the Eagles like Hall, and I think he's definitely in the lead. But who knows? Maybe Byron Young gets 2 sacks tonight with those shit show reps, and people overstate it because they're shit show reps, and he's back in the mix. Who knows? I mean, you saw last night the games, a lot of hype over Jackson Dart. I'm like, all right, let's settle down. Who's he out there against?
Yeah,
right. But people tend to just say, all right, he played well. So I remember the Tim Tebow game. We're all leaving I think that game was at MetLife. They were playing the Jets, but I think it was a MetLife game. Well, he made the team. Smack them. He made the team. He had a great final preseason game. No, he was terrible the entire camp. So you got to be careful with these evaluations.
Yeah, John, just confirming for everybody listening, I want to thank and welcome everybody for being here on a Football Friday morning preseason game tonight. Final preseason game. I think it kicks off at 7:30, John, if I'm not mistaken.
Can't they give us 6:30? Can't they give us something? 7:30
is 7:30. Yes, and it's on CBS. I don't know what it's on. It says CBS, NBC. So I don't know. Find your local channel. If not, load up the NFL
clock. Running clock.
Yeah, running clock. I don't think that'll happen.
Like a blowout Little League kids game.
John, when is cut down day? Officially is Tuesday, correct?
Tuesday,
next Tuesday. All right, because I've been hearing Saturday. I don't know why. I've heard from two people, hey, it's cut down day Saturday. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Why did you say that to me? And once I get it twice, you start to question what it is. So it is Tuesday next week. We'll have the final preseason game tonight. John, how about cornerbacks tonight? Jacorian Bennett, Adoree Jackson, Keely Ringo, Mac McWilliams, I think is actually another good name. Who do you think is the most important in tonight's game? And then just kind of your thoughts on where that position is. That thing still feels wide open, John, with training camp in the rearview mirror.
I don't even know if Mac's going to play. I mean, that's this kind of game.
Well, we might actually learn something about that position tonight based on who plays, right?
Well, no, I don't think so because somebody's got to play. So I do expect Mac to play. But, I mean, there's an outside chance that he doesn't. But, and Bennett needs reps. Ringo's hurt, so he's probably not going to play. It's interesting to see Brandon Johnson because he has been hurt but was able to return. So I think he'll play. And then Eli's got to play. A.J. Woods has been hurt, but then actually was ill. So he'll probably play. He'll probably be fine. Tariq Castro-Fields was hurt, so he might not play. A lot of issues. Like Adoree might have to play.
I'm gonna have to watch the game tonight with the printed out roster, man.
Yeah.
I don't know these guys. I don't know any. I mean, we know them. We've talked about them, but good Lord, we got some players playing.
Well,
and
the
Jacorian will play tonight.
Who? Yeah, he'll
Jacorian Bennett.
Yeah, because he needs reps. Vic's mentality with that. So I can't imagine he wouldn't be playing, especially with Ringo out on top of it. Because I don't think Ringo's going to play.
What's Ringo's injury?
Quad. So Castro-Fields was out. I'm just looking at my practice report. Castro-Fields was out with a hamstring. This is on Wednesday's practice.
Wednesday, right?
Ringo quad, I told you. And everybody else was back. So at least Brandon Johnson was back from his groin injury. And A.J. Woods was back from his illness, which he had missed the prior practice, the team drills. So those guys, I guess, since they were back Wednesday, are going to play. Not that you'll all be hyped up by Brandon Johnson, A.J. Woods. But in a lot of ways, Brandon Johnson's been their best backup slot corner to Cooper DeJean. So he might be more important than people realize.
He got cooked in preseason game number 2.
He did. He did get cooked, but that tells you.
I remember Pumper sending a super chat about him getting cooked.
Yeah, he didn't play well, and then he got hurt in that game, which is one of the reasons why Vic was so against moving Cooper right now because he doesn't have a slot corner to insert. So those are the guys. Castro-Fields and Ringo to me would be tough to play because they didn't practice on Wednesday. But so that might mean even Adoree might have to get 8 reps or so and then hand it over to everybody else. But that's just a guess. And Perry Nickerson will play, obviously.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see who's out there tonight, John. It is pretty interesting to see how this cut down is going to go. Cornerback is interesting because I don't know who's going to end up playing. The wide receiver spot's pretty interesting. I think it's made easier by the injury to Johnny Wilson, as we reported on yesterday. For those who missed it, Johnny Wilson did undergo season-ending surgery. So Johnny Wilson is officially out, and maybe we'll get some Darius Cooper action tonight. You think Kyle McCord plays the majority of the game tonight, John?
I think they'll split it. You know how they split it, because they did that weird, which I don't like. They did that weird. All right, you take 2 series, you take 2 series against. I didn't, and then rotate. I don't like that rotation.
Yeah, that was odd. That was odd.
I don't. Well, Nick's explanation was they wanted to see both with the second team and the third team, so to make it even. So I get it from that perspective. But with quarterbacks, I think you want to get them into a rhythm. I think it's easier for them to take a half and then take the other half. That's how I would do it. But there's all ways to do things. And they wanted to get both looks with the second and third team to get a better evaluation.
Yeah,
So
I mean, if I'm the Eagles and I'm keeping Kyle McCord, I'm letting that guy play three quarters tonight.
Yeah, well, I think they're keeping him. So I mean,
yeah, that's what I mean. Go and get.
But he needs. It's like I at the same time, I don't think you're worried about injury or anything like that, as you would be with the back, even the back.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah, which is why I'd play him extra. I mean, if that's the quarterback I'm keeping, he's my draft pick. I would play him 3 quarters. But hey, what do I know? I don't know what they're going to do. Let's get to a super chat. Then we're going to get to the great, the legend, Rick Saratella, coming up soon here on Birds 365. Zach checks in. John, he says, J-Mac, what happened to Keegan? Ghost.
Trevor Keegan, yeah. I mean, he's been cross-training at center. He's been having a difficult time with
he doesn't seem to be able to do it.
Shotgun snaps, a lot of worm burners back there. Well, it's part of the problem why the third team reps have been a disaster, to be honest, because you're playing shortstop before you're playing quarterback.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's been difficult for him. I don't know if he has the size that Jeff Stoutland likes inside a guard in the center part, and the Eagles are so deep. I clearly, Darian Kennard's ahead of him. When you talk about those interior backups, clearly Drew Kendall as a rookie is ahead of him. And then you talk about Brett Toth, who is a player that, I don't know, Stout likes. But I think he can manipulate the roster. So tough numbers game because they have so many young offensive linemen. We're going to talk about that with Rick because Rick was down there scouting. They have so many young offensive linemen they want to keep working with. And Keegan's probably in that same category. But you can't keep them all. There's too many, which is a nice problem to have. But, you know, the Keegans of the world, the Holland Pierces of the world, he's undrafted kid from Rutgers. I mean, you'd like to work with him, but if you can't, you can't. You got to move on. Same with Dylan McMahon last year.
We'll see what happens. Keegan's been a little bit of a letdown, Zach, to me. I had a high expectation, not high expectation, but I was excited when they drafted him a year ago. I thought he was a good player at Michigan, captain for multiple years there. I was hoping he kind of developed, but he has been – doesn't seem like he's done that to this point. Let's get on, move on, Johnny Mac. Great opening segment here. Preseason game tonight, everybody, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time at MetLife Stadium. Eagles versus Jets to close out this edition of the preseason and then start preparing for Eagles-Cowboys week 1. Let's go to our main man, Rick Saratella, set to join us right here on Birds 365. He joins us now. Rick, what's going on, man? Good
What's
Friday.
happening, fellas?
Haven't talked to you in a little bit, Rick. How you been, brother?
Yeah, we got a little turnpike football action. Jets.
Yeah, turnpike. Woo! A tradition unlike any other for many years. The last preseason game was Eagles-Jets, and it's like the Masters, I think, that tradition, and then Eagles-Jets preseason football. But good to see you, buddy. Saw you down at the NovaCare complex, but you heard me talking about the offensive line, so I guess we'll start there. They have so many young players they want to keep working with, but you know, how do you keep them all, Rick Saratella?
Well, you know, Howie's always got one eye on the future, and that was one of the most enlightening conversations that we had down there at the NovaCare complex, is how excited they are to and to use their terminology, enroll these rookies into Stoutland University, right? And I think they'll get creative with the 53-man roster because they like a lot of these guys. And I'm talking about Cam Williams, Miles Hinton, Holland Pierce, the big Mammoth Rutgers guy, is a developmental prospect. But I think Drew Kendall is a guy.
He's ready to go right away. Drew's the guy who's ready to play.
He's the one who's looked the best. Yeah, or at least it feels like it from afar.
And I was fascinated by the pre-draft process because I know he didn't hit the size requirements, but when I was down at the East-West Shrine Bowl, he was clearly by far the most polished offensive lineman. Some of us remember his father, Pete Kendall, who was a great lineman in his own right. And so he didn't have a lot of experience at Boston College. I saw a lot of cross-training. And at some point, Drew Kendall's going to have a factor on this team. I think, with the added versatility, right? Him and Cam Jurgens, there's a lot of interchangeable parts along this offensive line. At some point, they're going to need that. I would say, Cam Williams, I was not a huge fan of his college film. I think he's still raw, but the size, the attributes, you get guys like that and Pierce, you redshirt them, you develop them. That's the goal there. And Hinton, he's been a little bit up and down from my understanding, but, again, a guy that I thought his draft stock fell a little bit because of his situation where he nearly quit the game altogether. Yeah. And so I thought he got downgraded in the draft process, but I think he's a guy, all these guys at the offensive line might not have an immediate impact, but they always have one eye on the future, and you got to appreciate that.
You talk
what's
about
realistic? Go ahead, John.
Real quick, you talk about Pete Kendall, Miles' dad. He might have been the best offensive lineman in football for 2-3 years. Yeah. So the bloodline aspect of it there. But sorry, go ahead, Zander.
No, yeah, you're good. We had Chris Hinton on the channel right after Miles was drafted. Pretty good interview. Go check that out, everybody, if you missed it. Rick, what's a realistic timeline for a fan to expect on these guys, these young players? You just talked about Cam Williams, a super raw player. You only have a 4-year rookie deal. What's the right expectation on when to expect a player, or no, hey, he can play in this league, or probably a miss with that dart? What's a realistic timeline?
I think at this stage, right, they're all talented enough. They all have some kind of traits that the Eagles identified and want to work with. And I think that's where the mental acumen comes in, right? Drew Kendall is extremely smart, fast learner, and you've seen that. He's picked it up quick, and I think each guy is on a case-by-case basis. Now, Williams is a guy who's got extensive experience at Texas, big games, P4 pedigree, same deal with Hinton, so you got to like that. And the Rutgers guys, they don't get a lot of players drafted, but they always come into the league well coached, especially the offensive linemen. I mean, they've been doing that for years. So, I think it's just a case-by-case scenario, and really that's as I do more and more of the evaluation process, it's really about the DNA, the mental makeup, what's between the ears. And, as long as they can sustain that, then we'll see how they develop physically.
Rick, I want to take you to the wide receiver position because the guy who's captured the every year there's one of those guys in every training camp that unheralded, undrafted. I call him Mr. Novacare now. And this year's winner of that mythical title was Darius Cooper. Yeah. Great receiver at Tarleton State at a lower level. Tremendous production. He has shown up. But from what I hear, there's some, they didn't huddle at Tarleton State, I was told. There's alignment issues, fundamental issues, technique. They want to keep working with him. What have you heard about Darius Cooper? Because he's making a run at the 53.
Yeah. So, we just talked about it, right? And there's a little bit of a learning curve there, right? And as soon as it starts to click for him, this guy is really going to get it. And I think we've seen that as training camp wears on, but I think that was the concern. He's real twitchy. He returns kicks, a little bit of a body catcher. I think he's got to work on using his hands a little bit more naturally, but this guy is on the back burner, right? They're loaded in the slot, and it's like break glass in case of an emergency, but I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah. But the question is, here's the deep question for Howie, because this is what I've learned over the years about Howie. It's not necessarily what you do, it's what he thinks is going to happen. If somebody's going to claim Darius Cooper on waivers, he's going to keep him. If he thinks he can get him through, then he'll play, the practice squad game and keep working with him as a developmental player. Do you think he's shown enough to get through waivers?
I think a lot of that comes with recruiting, and you have a conversation with them and say, listen, you've been here the last couple of years, you know the playbook, and unless you have a 53-man roster opportunity somewhere else around the league, your best spot, your quickest way to the field is going to be here in Philadelphia on our practice squad. We already know you. We love you. We want to work with you. Injuries are going to happen, and you're the next man up. So I think there's a little bit of a recruiting sales pitch there if it comes down to a numbers crunch. But that might be a conversation to be had with the agent before they make a decision.
How much, I'll ask both of you guys this, how much of a premium is on the Eagles roster in terms of a guy goes to the waivers and he's from the Eagles, the other team, to the Jets of the world, to the Jaguars of the world, to the teams who are at the bottom of the league look and say, look at that roster, look at their 2 Super Bowl wins in the last 8 years, look at their success in the last 4 years. Let's go pluck a guy from there. How much do you think a premium exists on that Eagles roster and an Eagles player as compared to, maybe another team?
I will say this. I've been to quite a few NFL training camps this August, and by far Philadelphia had the deepest roster. I mean, they're 2 and 3 deep is extremely competitive. I don't see any other training. Pittsburgh, believe it or not, they've got some talent on that team. The Steelers, Pennsylvania, the Steelers now, if you go on their roster, they've got a lot of future Hall of Famers. They might not be in the prime of their career, but like the Steelers and the Eagles are loaded. And I think teams are paying attention because I'm having those conversations when I'm down there on the sideline with the fellow scouts. And I was there at the joint practice scrimmage, and the Brown scouts are asking me about the Eagles players, and the Eagles scouts are asking me about the Browns players. And so there's a lot of that going on. And I think, especially in this division, it's so competitive. They play each other. They're watching the games. A guy like Darius Cooper is definitely going to pop up and catch the attention. And I think there's teams that are going to be waiting to pounce to see. There's going to be some players that the Eagles have to part ways with, and other teams are going to claim them. I would say there's probably, if I had to guess, there's probably going to be more waiver claims on Eagles cuts than any other organization in the NFL. That's my prediction.
Yeah, there's definitely some cachet to being the Super Bowl champions, and the Eagles are considered, if not the deepest team, probably right there. Rick mentioned Detroit. I still think Pittsburgh. I still think Detroit is very deep as well. Cornerback is an interesting one for this game, and I'll tell you why. The Eagles have a bunch of, I think, good corners, good backup corners, but they don't have a number 2 corner. I don't think at this stage. So, maybe Ja'Cory Bennett can turn into that. But I look at the Jets and I say, the Jets aren't one of those teams in the conversation for, and I don't know if you scouted them this summer.
Mm-hmm.
But they look like a team that's got some corner depth. They're it's not a great team, but it starts with Sauce Gardner, obviously, but Michael Carter's a good player. Brandon Stevens a good player. What do you think of their depth? Did you scout them? And if you did, what do you think about their depth at cornerback?
Yeah, I did get into the Jets camp. I didn't pop up my notes here, but offhand, I mean, like Sauce Gardner is as good as it gets. He had a little bit of a down season that year, right? But I think both teams really could use some depth, and I would put the Jets in that category because, again, like once you get to the backup of the Jets, it gets thin quick. And I know we talked at Eagles training camp, and you were concerned about the pass rush. I'm concerned about the cornerback depth because, Mitchell is the clear one, but DeJean and Jackson, I think, are interchangeable parts. Like you can flip those guys on the inside, outside. So I think they have 3 competent cover men. But I'll tell you what, they're one injury away from being in a panic mode because, I mean, if you got to rely on Eli Ricks, Kaylee Ringa, I mean, Ja'Cory Bennett just got here. McWilliams is promising, but, I mean, you can't feel real good about starting any of those guys. And I think that's where probably the concern is. They transitioned very quickly here, like James Bradbury and Darius Slay over to Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. They brought in Dory Jackson. Like, that's a lot of turnover in the secondary, and they're going to have to find a way there.
John called Darius Cooper Mr. NovaCare, and I would say the antithesis of that this year, the inverse of that this year, was Keely Ringo. He came into camp. He was the number 1 guy everybody was watching coming into camp. We're all excited. Oh, Keely Ringo, year 3. We get to the end of camp, the guy's not even getting first-team reps anymore, Rick. How do you gauge a player like that? I don't know if you remember scouting them. I know you scout everybody over at allaccessfootball.com, and you guys do a great job at the NFL Draft Bible, but he's been a letdown for me, man. He's been a letdown for me for sure. And, what do you do with a player like that? What do you make of that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think we slapped a mid-round grade on him. He's got size. He's got a lot of experience, but you just kind of want to see him take the next level. And when does that come? And we talked about the mental acumen. I don't know if that's holding him back, but I was disappointed when I was down there in Eagles camp. Like, I didn't really see a whole heck of a lot from these backups, including him. And at some point, a decision has got to be made. Now, I think he's done enough or has enough leeway to have a leash here, but I think his depth chart status might be on the way down. Like Bennett, McWilliams, have they moved ahead of him? I think that'll be interesting to see.
I think Bennett has.
Yeah. Well, second team reps over the last few days of camps were Jacorian Bennett and Mac McWilliams on the outside. Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks came in from there after those guys, which I think surprises a lot of people. And now Keely's hurt with a quad injury. So things have not gone the way as expected for Keely Ringo in the summer. Now, I want to tap into you, Rick, about Drew Makuba because, hey, he's a rookie. So you're fresh off scouting him from that perspective for All Access Football. So he's shown his ability as a playmaker, but one of the knocks on him was the size. Can he hold up as a safety long term? He's already been hurt twice. He banged up his shoulder. He missed 5-6 days. Now he's out with a hamstring. How do you kind of gauge that? It seems to me Sidney Brown's going to be the week 1 starter, not necessarily because he slam dunk earned it, but because Drew Makuba can't stay on the field.
Yeah, and listen, I think Brown has got experience. He's flashed, a little bit more what you're getting there. When you have a rookie who's been banged up, it's a little bit more of a question mark. And so, 100, I have him listed as 186 pounds. I mean,
he looks smaller than that, Rick, in live.
And I mean, that's like Blankenship's 203, Brown is 211, and Makumba 186. Like, that's a 25-pound difference from the starters. So, like, he needs to get with the nutritionist in there. And that's the issue. Like, when you have a high-flying playmaking safety who likes to hit, you gotta kind of worry about that. We saw that with Gardner Johnson, right? Like, he always had an injury flare up. And I thought, like, when they drafted Drew, I thought they saw some similar characteristics in terms of playmaking ability, bait the quarterback, jump the routes, interceptions, turnovers. I think that's what he brings to the table. But this is a veteran team. There's high expectations. You can't just hand the keys over to a first-year player, especially a rookie that's missed some time.
Rick, I want to go to the starters with you. I know we talked about some of these depth guys, and that's what the focus will be tonight in the preseason game. But coming off a Super Bowl year for the Eagles in which they really dominated. I mean, after the bye week, Rick, they were 16-1. I mean, they were belt to ass all year for, is what the people are saying. What do you expect from them coming into this year? How do you expect their offense changes? I think, the defense obviously was a big part of the way they won last year and kind of lost a lot of those guys. So I think it's going to look a little different this year, almost putting a lot on Vic Fangio's plate. What's kind of your expectation, your broad expectation for what the Eagles can be this year?
Well, I told Mac down in training, this is another 13-win team all day long. Like, I can't see this squad being beaten. They'll probably beat themselves. I mean, I just can't see them losing more than 3 games. Now, like, when I look in the division, I feel like Washington got stronger coming off a big year. I feel like the Giants are going to be much improved. And like you look at the changing of the guard, like last year it was the Eagles with the best defensive line in the division. Now you can state a case like the Giants. They've got some real ammunition.
That's definitely the best D line in the division.
Oh, yeah. That defensive front is impressive on paper.
Oh, man. And Abdul Carter is legit. Like, I saw him in training camp, and that dude is going to create problems. You match him up opposite of Brian Burns. You got Dexter Lawrence in the middle, and then Thibodeau looks like he's got a little fire underneath him. So, I think there are some legitimate questions in terms of the stability of offensive line compared to years past. And if the Giants can keep the games low scoring, I think they might give the Eagles a fit in one of these games. And
I
play
said the
them
same
tough.
thing yesterday, Rick. I said that front is gonna make people pissed off for at least one of the two games.
Yes.
They're gonna get all over you. That on paper.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Finally, it's funny because I think when you have these teams that are bad for an extended period of time, the same thing happened with the Lions. You wake up one day and they've been picking in the top 5 of the draft so many years in a row, and you go, "Damn, they got some good players."
Yeah, right.
And that's what's kind of happening with the Giants. They're getting that again, that defensive front. Boy, if it clicks.
you gotta look long and hard to find maybe a better defensive line in all of football. Really,
Yeah, I
they're
agree.
right up there.
I agree. I mean, those
And
three
I'll
edge
tell you
rushers
this
are
too, like,
nasty, man.
the vibe is incredibly different down there in Giants camp. Like, there is an energy, there's an excitement. I feel a rejuvenation.
Where is that coming from? Jackson Dart?
Jackson Dart, I think, has got more swag than any rookie quarterback, including Shedeur
I like him.
Sanders,
I'm not a Jackson Dart hater.
and
I like
Carter, like, when he doesn't take a lot of reps, but when he comes on the field, the fans, the electricity goes through the roof. And then you got guys like Cameron Scadaboo is a spark plug. Some Marcus Mabo, this guy's gonna win.
Marcus Embo, yeah, the Eagles had a lot of interest in him in the
This
draft.
guy, he gets under your skin. I watched him at the Senior Bowl. He must have pissed off at least half a dozen defensive linemen who started a scuffle with him after the whistle, just because he plays through the whistle, and that's the new attitude. And I also thought, like, the first year when the Giants had a little bit of success, you saw a fire and a confidence out of Brian Daboll, and I think it got some humble pie the last couple seasons. I saw a rejuvenated Brian Daboll. I think he's got his guy. I think he's excited about Jackson Dart. I think they're underplaying how soon this kid's going to play. I think he'll be in there week 5 against the Saints, especially if they stumble out of the gates like 1-3 start.
All right. Jackson Dart is interesting to me because people are so hyped and he's played well in the preseason. From a scouting perspective, because I've been on this, I mean, 13 reps in the NFL are a disaster so many times in so many camps. And I've been around camps for years, and I hesitate to evaluate quarterbacks, especially. Now he's gotten higher reps than that, obviously. And we'll see how long they last with Russell Wilson, but I do think he'll be on the field this year. But just from your perspective, those 13 reps, as a scout, how do you evaluate them when Kyle McCord's playing shortstop before he can even play quarterback? It's like the offensive line stinks. The receivers are up against the quarterback. How do you evaluate them?
Well, I mean, I think you got to take it in stride and just say, hey, incomplete pass. Well, whose fault was that? Was it a bad route? Was it a catchable ball? Was it in the vicinity? So you can't just look at the results. You've got to look at how they apply. I mean, I thought too, some of the pre-draft stuff on the whiteboard is very telling, and who can retain information, who could spit it back, who's got to. And let's be honest, we're talking about rookie quarterbacks. I mean, that was one of the things that Shedeur Sanders failed, is because he's like, hey, how dare you pull surprises on me? I'm not doing this. I don't, like, I mean, and that's what the teams do. They want to know, like, hey, can I work with you? Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, in terms of McCord and DTR, I think McCord has the upper hand, just being the younger quarterback or the less experienced quarterback. I think there's more upside there with what you're seeing. And I had a chance to coach DTR back in middle school when he was out in Las Vegas before he went to Bishop Gorman. I don't know how many people realize, like, in terms of overall snaps and reps at quarterback, like, he played wide receiver the first 3 years in high school and then played quarterback his senior year and went off to UCLA. So it's not like he had all this domination at the quarterback level. And I wonder too, a bit of me wonders, like, the future of DTR, if he is released by the Eagles, like, is there a position change in the mix? The athleticism is there. I don't think he performed well enough to state a case to keep him as a developmental quarterback in terms of over Kyle McCord. I think McCord has shown to be better in the preseason. I think he's gotten more snaps in practice since then. And so for me, like, all signs are pointing towards McCord, and I'm not sure about the future of Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yeah, we'll see. We got a little optimistic Rick this morning, Rick, and I want you to walk me through your thought process. And I like it. I happen to agree with you, but you said you see this team as 13 wins again. That's right where I am. I have them at 13, but I admit there's a couple where, I feel I'm maybe more optimistic than most with a new cornerback too, with a new safety, with two new guys on the defensive front in Moro Ajomo and whoever the Jalix Hunt, probably you lost, obviously, Sweat and Milton Williams. How are you factoring that in to 13 wins? That's a lot to overcome, Rick. You know what I mean? And now everybody has turnover, but you're still very high on the Eagles coming into this year. Walk me through it.
Well, I think, yeah, you're right. Every team has turnover, and we've talked about this extensively, is continuity. You retain your coaches. That means something.
Yeah, that's true.
John, you mentioned the Lions, like they're loaded, they're stacked, but they lost both coordinators, QB coach. I mean, they got hit on that coaching squad. So I think when you have a different voice in terms of leadership and coaching, there's more to overcome than the interchangeable parts, new faces. Some of these guys at Jomo have been in the system. Some of it is next man up, but you are identifying players that fit your scheme. Fangio does a great job of maximizing their talents. And to me, like the coaching continuity, we saw a couple years ago after the Eagles got raided, 2 new coordinators. They had to blow it all up. They got the right guys in there now, but I think that means a lot.
Is it unfair to Vic? I mean, they get guys the number 1 defense in football by a wide margin. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid can't get past the 50 for 10 drives in the Super Bowl, and they're gutting his defense. If I'm Vic, I'm throwing a hissy fit, man.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks, right?
That's true.
And they saved him from Miami, so I guess he's indebted to him,
Yeah, he is much happier here, if only because the Phillies are playing next door. Vic is a huge Phillies fan. Maybe the biggest Phillies fan in town, but he's very happy here. I think he's the best defensive coordinator in football, but I do think, to Xander's point, man, think about it. Everybody thinks the Eagles were still the best team in football. Obviously, they were last year, but think about how good they were last year when it all ended. I mean, they're losing a potential future Hall of Famer in Darius Slade. They're losing a $26 million player in Milton Williams. They're losing an edge rusher that got paid big bucks to go to Arizona. They lose Nakobe Dean to injury, who had a phenomenal season. They lose Oren Burks, who stepped in and looked like he was Bobby Wagner in his prime in the postseason run. They lose Isaiah Rodgers, who's probably the best backup cornerback in football. And they lose maybe the biggest playmaking safety, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Everybody's like, Vic will figure it out. Vic is great, but that's a lot, right?
Well, maybe Roseman is figuring it out, though, too, because he's always reloading. Like, Uchi comes in. He looks like he's going to be a factor as a situational pass rusher. They bring in Jahad Campbell. He looks like a lightning rod, and I think he's going to start. And what a great piece. I mean, I feel like that's an upgrade. That guy is so good. So there's always something in the pipeline for the Eagles, and it's, fascinating to watch. But I think part of the byproduct of winning the Super Bowl is other teams tend to overpay for those guys on the open market due to the championship pedigree. And so it's become difficult. There's only a handful of teams in NFL history who have won back-to-back, especially in this modern day era with salary cap, free agency. Guys like Josh Sweat are going to get overpaid. And so you have to make business decisions. I think Roseman's been very wise in terms of how he allocates his money and letting guys go when they do, and knowing when to find bargain values and then wheeling and dealing. I mean, this guy, I think I saw 19 trades over the last 5 years between the start of preseason and the regular season. This guy's making trades all over the place, and I think there's going to be more to come.
Yeah, I think there's still going to be at least one. So we'll see. It's cut down day Tuesday at 4:00. Linebacker, you mentioned Jahad Campbell. I'm with you. He's going to start. But boy, that's one. Jeremiah Trotter's had a great summer too. He's done nothing wrong. It's just a matter of he got this big, lengthy, athletic praying mantis, I call him. Yeah. He's so long. He creates all these issues. But Jeremiah Trotter could play. What you got a quick glimpse. He's had a great camp, but it's like, all right, sorry. You know, some of these other positions, you feel bad. Ringo didn't seize the job. Sidney Brown, Trotter. If you didn't have Jahad Campbell, if you had to go a different way in the draft, you'd be excited about Trotter because he's an instinctive player.
Yeah, well, but you know, and the depth is going to be needed, right? Because Nakobe Dean can't stay healthy, and Trotter, I will say, looked like a much improved player when I saw him in camp. I mean, just he was out there, he was in command, he was communicating, he was pointing guys in the right direction. There was just a different confidence and air of him, and you could see the development there. And I'll tell you, Smile Munden is a good looking player. He can fly all over the field.
Yeah. He's had a good camp.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's like all about building the pipeline. Munden might not be called upon early on in the year, but again, injuries, he's only one play away.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Rick, good stuff. I want you to give me, Rick, your top team in the NFC coming into the season, or at least what you think, and then also your top team in the AFC. I think the AFC is pretty interesting this year as well. What do you got, Rick?
Yeah, you know, I was leaning towards the Baltimore Ravens out of the AFC. Now, I saw Lamar Jackson now came down with some kind of ankle injury, so here we go with that one. You know, one thing I do want to say is, because I mentioned the Ravens and Derrick Henry was the last guy to run for 2,000 yards, I think one of the buried storylines here is Saquon Barkley and his repeat quest, because if you look at the history of running backs, now Henry is he's probably the only one that's bounced back pretty well, but if you remember after that 2000 year, he got broken down, missed 8 games, I think. And if you look at the trend or the history of 2,000-yard rushers, I mean, it has not fared well for any of them. The very next season, I can't find a guy who's come anywhere even close to replicating that kind of season. I think he finished with like 388 touches, if I'm not mistaken, by the end of the season.
482.
482.
Postseason.
So So I mean, that's a lot of hits, guys.
Yeah.
And you just wonder, like, how much can this guy hold up? How much can he endure? He's going to have another all-time great performance in order for the Eagles to maintain and elevate this season and level of dominance. But I have the Ravens and the Eagles colliding in the Super Bowl when it's all said and done.
That's Ravens, Eagles. That should be a good one.
My club, the Ravens. I pick them every year, Rick. One year I'm going to be right.
One of these years.
Yeah.
John's got the Commanders winning the East, though. I can't let him live that down, Rick. Is he too high on the Commanders too early?
Rick knows the history of this division. It's been 2 decades.
That's true. That's true.
This is my problem with the Commanders, though, guys. You have a rookie quarterback, all right, who does what he does and takes that team to the NFC title game. You're Adam Peters. You're sitting on the 2nd or 3rd most cap space in the league. You got all these assets, and I don't feel like they really went all in. Now, maybe there's some mess to clean up with Daniel Snyder there, but I think they did good. I think they got better. I think they could have done a lot more with the position that they were in coming into the year and coming off of what they did last year.
I mean, I liked some of their moves. Like, they brought in Laramie Tunsil. They brought in Deebo Samuel, which I thought were great complementary parts. But now, is Terry McLaurin staying or going? If he departs, I mean,
you got to keep Terry McLaurin. I'm going to change if they don't keep him. But
I mean, that would be ridiculous.
Well, I mean, he's looking for like $30 million a year and $50 million guaranteed. It's a lot of money for a guy that really, I think, is a very good wide receiver. I don't know if he's great. And so Brian Robinson now is another guy. Like, are they going to hand the keys over to?
They like that young kid, man.
Bill. Yeah. And so, you know, like when you have those issues in training camp and veteran guys with contracts, stalemates and trade requests and uncertainty in the locker room, I think that, again, we talk about stability, whether it's coaching staff or the way front office treats the veteran guys. Like, there's other guys in that locker room looking around like, hey, what's really going on here? Am I going to get paid when my time comes? And I think, you know, that factor alone is enough to, I think, give the Eagles the
you know what's so interesting about Eagles versus Commanders? The Eagles have gone so young. They're only 30-year-old defenders are Perry Nickerson and Obo, who probably aren't going to make the team. They've gone so young. And you mentioned Tunsil, Deebo. but they also brought in, Von Miller. They still have Bobby Wagner, Frankie, Zach Ertz. They've gone complete veteran. I think it's such an interesting
Eckler,
to see
Austin
which one
Eckler,
works. Yeah. Interesting dichotomy to see what works, because they got a lot of guys who know how to play. I think that means something. And they have an easier schedule, a little bit. Not, the Eagles have a murder schedule. And just the natural Super Bowl hangover and 2 decades. I'm betting on history, Rick. The Eagles are going to be good. The Eagles are going to be in the playoffs, but I'm betting on history.
Come on, Rick. Don't fold the Johnny Mac.
No. I'm holding firm. I'm holding firm. And maybe like 2 months ago during the free agent frenzy, I might have been a little bit more divided. But no, I feel really, after seeing them in person, this team's ready. I'm not wavering.
All right.
I love it. Rick, good stuff, man. Make sure you guys follow Rick at Rick Saratella and go to allaccessfootball.com. Subscribe to his newsletter on Substack. It's one of the best. I get it in my email every morning. Read it every morning. Rick, thank you, brother. Make sure you guys follow Rick. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, my man?
Appreciate it. Absolutely. Right. Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
See you down the road.
There on here. John, I want to pull up this graphic real quick before we get to our break. We're going to have Chris Franklin in hour number 2 today. All right, but we just talked about the Commanders, and I do think it's worthy of a conversation here. I don't know if you thought about what I said, but you just brought up the age. Here's a graph, John, of the average age of players on teams across the NFL. You can see the Eagles are near the bottom in terms of youth, tied with the Jets at average age 25.4. Packers are the youngest team in the league at 25.1. And then all the way up at the top is your Washington Commanders at 27.
They went all in, man. All in on these old guys.
I think they went too old, John. It's a young man's game, man. I think they went too old.
It's fair. It's fair. I'm not saying, but Bobby Wagner is old, but he's still playing at a Hall of Fame level. He was, true. He might have been the second best linebacker in football to Zach Bond last year.
He is, but John, you're an odds guy, you have an average age that's 2 years older. How does that fare across a 17, 18, 19 game schedule?
Well, I think a lot of it is, skewed towards, certain guys. I think it's an individual context. I think I've been very above board. I've been off Debo for a number of years. I think, from what I've heard, he might be a little bit more rejuvenated and in better shape. So maybe he's a little bit better, but I think he's an overrated player. I've said that. I think Tunsil's still in his prime. I think he's fine. I'll tell you what, I don't want Von Miller for 1,000 snaps, but I guarantee he rushes the fucking passer better than Azeez Ojulari and freaking Josh Uche.
Yeah, right. Give me 300 or 400 snaps.
That dude could get off the couch and rush better than those guys. That is slam dunk, first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best pass rushers in history, who still, all these camps around, you have Tight End University and Lane Johnson with offensive line masterminds. The Von Miller pass rushing camp was the Von Miller pass rushing camp. He's the guy that everybody looks to. He's so good. So again, he's not what he once was. Bobby Wagner, to me, is their version of Darius Slay, but only better. You can talk about his age all you want, but he still performs at this amazingly high level. So it depends on the individual player. And again, with those two specifically, Samuel, I'm not a big fan of. Never have been. I think half of it, even his prime, was about playing with Kyle Shanahan, more of a manufactured touch guy, not going to run routes, not the classic receiver that's going to get open. And again, you can't have Bond out there for 1,000 snaps, but 500 snaps, Katie bar the door if he's healthy. So there's a bunch of guys. Lattimore, he might be descending. I think that's fair.
Am I right to be concerned about Tunsil, dude? Like you got a rookie quarterback in Houston who played at a really high level year one, small minor regression, I'd say year two, still made the playoffs, and you're trading away your left tackle?
Well, he made
that siren's going off for me, John. I don't know why, but it just is.
Well, he made a ton of money, and they were rebuilding the whole. They made so many moves on their offensive line. and he just made a ton of money. And their process was he's 31. You know, by the time we get this group up to speed, he's going to age out. But for the Commanders, where they weren't great at left tackle, to get whatever he is, a 5 or 6-time Pro Bowl player, that's a big upgrade. He makes the Commanders better. Did he fit on the timeline at his expense for Houston? No. So again, you have to look at everything contextually. Is he the long-term answer? No. Is he a hell of a lot better than what they had? Yes. A hell of a lot better.
That's fair. What do you think of my characterization of they had a lot of available cap space? They had a lot of things at their disposal to kind of make moves. I think they definitely got better. I'm not saying they didn't get better, but I don't know. I think
they made a ton of moves. They just went better.
I remember when Jalen Hurts started the show with John, and Howie Roseman gave him Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown the next. I mean, he loaded Saquon Barkley. He loaded him up. Continued to. I don't really feel like Adam Peters went all in.
There's a bunch of we're talking about him bringing in veterans. I mean, when you bring in veterans, what does that say? That says you think the window's open and you're going for it. So I disagree with the sentiment. I don't know if it's going to work, but that's when you do bring in veteran players.
Yeah, I just felt like I don't know. I felt like with all the things that they had.
There's a bunch of stuff they did. I think swapping out Jonathan Allen for Javon Kinlaw was stupid.
Yeah, I've been on that one.
I'm not a big fan of Debo. And if you think Debo's presence allows you to shortchange Terry McLaurin, I don't like that decision. If that's what's going to end up, and I can tell you, I'm already going to change. If they don't work things out with Terry McLaurin, then they trade Terry McLaurin. I'm going right back to the Eagles.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Because if I'm jaded and I'm like, yeah, I just led this shitty organization that has sucked for 20 years to an NFC title game, and you can't even pay my top wideout. Are you kidding me? That's a joke the way they're handling that whole situation. I know money comes into it. I know he's 30 years old. Dude, pay Terry. Or if you weren't going to pay him, there was a bunch of receivers who got moved this offseason. DK Metcalf, all sorts of guys got moved all over. Cooper Kupp, Devontae. Do something. I don't know. I didn't really like the
they're counting on Shakur. Sorry, I popped on Shakur Merrick's. And they're potentially going to trade Brian Robinson, who isn't great, but I mean, he's competent in running back. I don't like that decision. So I don't like a lot of things they're doing, but I mean, it's evident what Adam Peters did, and he went with a bunch of veterans because he thinks the window is open. And I'm above board. I think Jaden Daniels is a freaking superstar. I do. So any Eagles fan,
that's a 150,000-mile truck driving down the highway, John. You might get to your destination. That thing could break down at any moment, John.
You talk about a difference maker. That's a difference maker. And that guy, I'm sorry, Eagles fans, he's going to be a pain in the ass to deal with.
Oh, I'm not denying
that. Time.
Yeah, I'm not denying
for a long time. And I know Eagles fans aren't going to be happy with that, but so what? I mean, the dude can play. He can just play.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I just, I don't know. I don't think that they did everything they could have to maximize their rookie quarterback, who's literally.
I don't think Howie did everything to maximize this window. I mean, I think people forget the business aspect of football. Howie obviously made a long-term decision to let some of these defensive guys go. In the immediacy, they'd be better if they would be back, but I don't disagree with the decisions because I know what's coming up.
Right.
So, I mean,
they're paying the whole offense. The Commanders, had a chance to. Well, I don't know. I think you're right. I mean, there is some business elements that go into it, but I don't know. I was just underwhelmed by their offseason, and when I thought they really had a chance to put everybody on their heels because of what Jaden showed last year. And I don't really think they did that.
I don't know.
I think they got better. I don't think they got.
I don't know what you're referring to. I mean, if you point to a player or a situation, like again, I went down they tried to add to their receiving group. I think they made the wrong decision. with Deebo Samuel, but that's a veteran big name. They tried to get their offensive line better, and they did get their offensive line better with Laramie Tunsil. There's no doubt about that, and that's a big freaking name.
Yeah, I actually like that draft pick too. What's that guy's name? Josh
Josh
Connerly.
Connerly, yeah, Howie likes that draft pick. I got news for you. They were
Yes, he
seriously
did.
considering
They
him.
posted that. I think the Eagles actually posted that, didn't they?
I believe so. Again, I don't like Kinlaw swapping him out for Jonathan Allen, but they're looking for a different type of player because of the presence of, to be honest, of Saquon Barkley, trying to get the better run support player, which I don't necessarily agree that he is, but that was their thought process. Wagner is, as I said, still phenomenal. Frankie Luvu, my always description of him is he's the player you hate when he's against you, but if he's on your team, you love him.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Von Miller's, to me, still a good situational pass rusher. We'll see how that works out. And, I do think the Eagles, AJ kind of owns Marshawn Lattimore, but AJ owns everybody.
Yeah, I agree. Although I don't think Lattimore is going to be everything that they were hoping. But
he's clearly a descending player. So
yeah,
but the other kid, Sandra Still, is a good young corner. He's a really good young corner.
Yeah, they drafted him. I forget where they drafted. He wasn't a first round pick. He was I think he was a later round pick. Second rounder. Yeah, he had a good rookie season though. He had another good year. So I do like him. John, let's move into back into some Eagles talk. We're going to get to Chris Franklin. I'll take a break in a minute.
ESPN is brutal, by the way. They start these videos. I'm not going. ESPN, stop your bullshit, or I'm not going to your site.
They got a lot of bullshit going on over there. John, what's the biggest challenge the Eagles will face in the 2025 season?
The biggest challenge? Well, I think, intangibly, I think it's the, the lack of urgency, which I've talked about before. I don't sense the same level of urgency coming up. And I think that's just human nature. I don't think that's anything different for the Eagles than anybody else that wins the Super Bowl. Kansas City was able to overcome it once, but very few teams have been able to overcome it over the years. That's number one intangibly. On the field, I haven't wavered. It's edge rusher. The whole mentality of the modern NFL is you got to either get the quarterback or get to the quarterback if you don't have the quarterback. So if you look at the New York Giants, for instance, they don't have the quarterback right now. Russell's old, Jackson Dart's not ready yet, but we just talked about their defensive front. They might be better than people expect because they, on paper, may be able to get to the quarterback. It's got to come to fruition. But if Abdul Carter hits the ground running, you add him to Dexter Lawrence, who you already know is the best nose tackle in football. Brian Burns is a proven guy. Kayvon Thibodeau's, hasn't lived up to his expectations, but extremely talented, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They might be better than people expect, even though they don't have the quarterback because they can get to the quarterback. The Eagles pass rush in their two recent runs, so 57 and 59. Now, 57, it was more obvious because of the number of sacks, but pressure percentage-wise, they were top of the league last year. They get to the quarterback. And they lost a lot of guys, still have potential with Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Moro Jomo, Jalix Hunt specifically. But you got to see it. And if there's one injury, then you start to go, uh-oh.
Right.
Not nearly. Usually, if you go into an Eagles season over recent years, and you were grading the depth, it's always offensive line, defensive front, and then you start with everything else. Offensive line still got depth. Again, comparatively, contextually, compared to people around the league. Defensive front, not so much, at least from a proven perspective.
Yeah, I like I like how you broke it up into intangibly, and then I don't know, the sense of urgency I think is tough because it's just hard to gauge. But I understand where you're going with it. My intangible problem for the team would just be expectations. I think the expectations not only from the fan base but internally, from the owner on down. I think the expectations are really high. And as we talk about, you lose more than you win at the end, John. And you wonder if those expectations will create a pressure vacuum for the team. I think they'll be able to handle it because I think they're more
kind of
seasoned.
used to it though by now.
Me too.
'Cause
Me
it's
too.
been that way.
That's
It's
a good
been
point.
that way for a number of years. Now, don't get me wrong. They don't live up to expectations. Jeffrey's going to come looking for his scapegoats.
Yeah. I think 23 maybe though was a good lesson in that for the team.
If they don't, well, if they lose in a close game at the whistle in the NFC Championship game, I think you're
Yeah.
right.
Right.
If they lose in the first round, whether that's wild card or divisional round, and they lose by 2 touchdowns, oh, he's coming for a scapegoat. So it depends on
Who's it going to be?
Yeah.
Who will Jeffrey choose this time? Can't be Nick. Sorry, Jeffrey. I guess it's Petullo. Not going to be Vic.
The Petullo thing would be interesting because I think Nick would fight for Kevin Petullo.
He should.
Whereas he played more of the political game with Brian Johnson. And that's what happened.
That's because Nick was in a different standing at that time, right?
Well, yeah. And that's what happened with Doug Peterson in the end. He stood for his guys and they said, all right, see ya.
Could you see any of those stalemates coming? Maybe not with Nick, but like
just Kevin. Just Kevin. Not Vic. Vic can do what he wants.
Well, I do get a sense that Vic doesn't love the way they do everything, and kind of like subtly says it.
Oh yeah, not subtly. He's very passive aggressive about it.
Yeah, passive aggressive is a better way to do. Better way to
He's
phrase
not
it.
Subtle at all. He's about as subtle as a bull in a china shop. Yeah, I mean, he makes it. But the Eagles know that they're cool with it. But they also, they also don't listen to him. They do what they want. As an organization, I'm saying. Not defensively, they listen to, but when it comes to practicing it, and they practice more since Vic got here, significantly more.
Yeah. So he's pulled them a little bit, not much.
Yeah, but they
bit,
still practice compared to the rest of the league. They're probably bottom 5 in practice time, maybe bottom. I don't know if anybody's done those studies because you have to get every single practice and how long it was. It's very difficult to do, but I guarantee they're bottom 5, and they might even be 32. Wouldn't surprise me. And that's increased since Vic has gotten here. But it's worked, so it's hard to argue with them.
Yeah, no doubt. Johnny Mac, good stuff. Plenty of stuff here to recap, to discuss as we get ready for the regular season. The final preseason game tonight, everybody. I don't know how captivating the game will be tonight, but it will be on. So turn it on. I know we only get. I said before, John, we only get 24 max of these things if they have no bye week, no playoff bye, and they go to the Super Bowl, and you get 3 I think the most amount of games possible in a year for a football team and an NFL team is 24. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to oversell it, but I do think there's interesting. There's interesting things. The 2 trade guys I think are one of the most interesting. Mechie as well.
Yeah, Mechie, I'm excited actually.
And Jacorian Bennett. I mean, those are guys who have a chance to contribute this year if they get up to speed, but they got to get up to speed. And they're going to have to play in this game. So that should be something people should keep an eye on. So there's a couple guys, obviously we talked a lot about Darius Cooper. He's going to play. I mean, 95% going to play. If he doesn't, it's probably a better sign, to be honest. But I would think he's going to be out there. So people are excited by that. You know, E.J. Jenkins is another guy I should mention after losing Johnny Wilson, because I think everybody's like, well, that opens up a spot at wide receiver. Not for what he does. I think that might open up a spot for E.J. Jenkins when it comes to.
So you're still iffy on Darius making the team.
Did it again with the ESPN. I got to stop that. But
it's not coming through.
I got. Yeah, I'm totally off you, ESPN. I just removed you from my life. I just clicked it.
Removed from the top bar, the quick links.
So E.J. Jenkins is a big bodied guy who the Eagles think is really progressing as a blocker. And again, it's a little bit different, but if you're in those heavy personnel looks, Saquon running the football, you can't duplicate what you lost with Johnny Wilson from a wide receiver standpoint, but you can use E.J. Jenkins as a flex guy. And, he used to be a wide receiver in college. So he might be the guy who's sort of the winner from that injury. Nobody's a winner from an injury, but as far as opening up a role,
yeah,
I think that's more for E.J. Jenkins than any of the receivers.
I still got my boy Darius Cooper making the team, John.
Well, he's very well, but I'm saying it's not to replace Johnny Wilson.
No, I just think he's going to make the team. I don't know. Maybe they keep EJ too, but that would be pretty heavy.
I'm saying if they want to replace the role, and they probably do, the way you can do that is with EJ, who's I was told is up to 260 pounds. He's got this crazy arm length. He can run because he used to be a receiver. So he's an interesting player, and I'm leaning towards keeping him on my 53 now. And I was going to leave him off, but now I'm debating whether to leave him on. So to me, he's the biggest guy I'd look at as far as their thought process and trying to replace the role of Johnny Wilson.
Yeah.
And I think people get too caught up in labels. I say it all the time.
Yeah.
So they go, all right, he's out at wide receiver. Who's in at wide receiver? To your point, that would help Cooper and Smith, which they were hurt from the Mechie trade. But again, they're completely different styles of receiver. And I do think also that people don't realize how much Johnny Wilson played last year. He played like 33% of the offensive snaps.
And I bet you that probably would have went up this year too.
Well, depending on, how much they had to run the ball or wanted to run the ball or
Right.
could run the ball. So it all factors into it. But I think he played more than most people realize. And he was having a good summer. So that's obviously a disappointing injury.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. Appreciate everybody being here. We got some super chats we'll rattle off now. And then we got Chris Franklin coming up in a couple minutes here. JD3 checking in with a couple today. What up, JD3? J-Mac, which player went and cried to Slay about CJ telling him to pick up the weights? That's the softest shit I've ever heard.
That was Josh Jobe.
Josh Jobe, yeah. Josh Jobe. Come on, Josh. Come on. It's a big boys game, Josh. Come on, Josh. Rack your weights.
Well, look, CJ's tough to deal with at times.
Good. He can play. I hate that excuse. I know he's tough to deal with. Good. Welcome to life. There's not everybody's easy to deal with in life.
Well, the Eagles got rid of him twice. I mean, blame the Eagles. Don't blame me.
Well, we're going to see if that decision was the right decision because they're relying on lesser.
Well, I didn't get rid of him.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying. I know he's a headache, but they won a Super Bowl with that headache. Now you got a big spot at safety where we have question marks. Let's see how it looks.
Well, I don't think they're going to replace him as a player. I've said that pretty consistently.
But will they be able to prevail? That will be the question, I think.
Yeah.
Zach says, I keep asking everyone who on the Skins defense is an impact player. Well, they do have some impact players. They got rid of Jonathan Allen.
Well, Bobby Wagner, Zach, Bobby Wagner's going to the Hall of Fame. like first
Yeah,
ballot.
some people think he's just past his prime.
Well, some people aren't watching the film. Some people think, all right, he's old. He was, well, I think I always say Zach was the best linebacker in football last year. It was probably Warner. So I do give deference to Brett Warner. But, I would say Fred's number 1, Zach was number 2, Bobby was number 3. And Bobby's been doing it for a freaking long, 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 long time. I'm gonna roll out his PFF grades for everybody. How many top 10 finishes for Bobby Wagner? I'm counting them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. Number 1 twice.
How was he the last 2 years?
Number 1 3 times. I think the last 3 years, number 1 of 81, number 7 of 82. Last year was number 3 of 84. Yeah, I don't give a shit what you think. That is an unbelievable football player.
Those are good grades. All right. I'm not the biggest PFF guy, but they do have a good indication of if a player has a good year. That's pretty impressive.
When you talk about impact players, and your assumption is Bobby Wagner isn't an impact player because of his age, again, you're not watching. Look, I get it's rare. Just like I think Eagles fans are going to find out how rare Darius Slay was, and to play at his age the way he did. And Bobby's, with all due respect to Slay, who I love, and if you're listening, I hope things are going well in Pittsburgh. Slay ain't Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner is one of the best linebackers of all time.
Yeah, he's rare, and there's no doubt. JD3 chat. Zach, appreciate the super chat. JD3, thank you, brother. JD3, talking about JD5, says JD5 can't lead a team to a Super Bowl. His mom still leads him to the bathroom. He's a little weird.
And now we're going both ways. Which way do you want it? Oh, this guy's old. This guy's too young. Well, if you're going too young, you got some problems with the Philadelphia Eagles because they're too young on paper.
I don't know. I think it's goofy. I don't really care because whatever, but it is a little goofy.
They got 2 30-year-old players on defense, and they're both getting cut on Tuesday. Perry Nickerson and Obo.
Yeah, I wonder how that's going to be. Eduardo checks in. Johnny Mac, who are you starting at defense? That's a loaded question, Eduardo. Just give me safety and corner.
Well, Adoree Jackson, Sidney Brown, week 1. I don't know how long it'll last, but
yeah, that's the question. How long will it last? We will see. Good stuff, everybody.
Obviously, Adoree. The more interesting part is where does Cooper start in the base, which again is only going to be used very sparingly, and Dallas, probably even more sparingly. I would say Cooper is more likely to start at safety in the base defense.
Eduardo, thank you, brother. Appreciate all you guys for all the super chats today. I got to do it. Let's go. Actually, you know what? Screw it. I'll do it after. Let's go to Chris Franklin, who joins us right now here on Birds 365. Follow him at C Franklin News. Read all his work at NJ.com. Chris, welcome to the show, man. You're coming into a Football Friday Thunderdome. How you doing, brother?
Not bad. Oh, my gosh, it's vicious today. It's funny, but it's vicious. Good Lord.
Well, I mean, come on. But Bobby Wagner's not good because he's 33 or whatever he is. I mean, come on.
I'll add one thing, too. Another impact player, I think, Frankie Luvo.
Frankie's the guy that you hate if he's on your favorite. You hate him if he's against your favorite team, but if he's on your favorite team, you love him. You love him.
And he's like, even though he did his best Ralph Wiggum impersonation on that goal line stand there, he's still a decent guy. He's still a decent player. I wouldn't mind him on this team.
I love the fan base. You get one comment, Chris, where, oh, the Commanders are too old. And then you got the next minute, well, Jaden Daniels is too young. Come on. Get together. Have a meeting. Which one is it?
It has to be one or the other. Nah, it could be mutually both. It could mutually not both. It's great.
Yeah.
Hey, as long as it get whatever works that gets you wins and gets you Lombardis in the trophy case.
Exactly.
You'd be a no-name defense. Like last year, when you look at this team,
Like the
It kinda wasn't.
1972 Miami Dolphins, no name defense. Yeah.
It is a lot.
Chris, you don't have the Commanders winning the East, do you?
It's close. I think it comes down to a tiebreaker, but I had the Eagles winning it.
Yeah,
I think it's real close.
Baby.
Yeah, whoever
think-
handles the games against, it's going to come down to a tiebreaker. Yeah, it's going to come down to the 2 games against each other, no doubt about it.
I got the Birds winning the East for the first repeat winner since 04.
And I really can see that. And the thing is, I think the Commanders are going to be, even though the stupidest thing they did was to upset Terry McLaurin. I
Yeah, that
know
was
it's working
stupid.
positively, but that can impact you into a game or two because he's going to have to, even though he might be working on his side, it's different from ramping up, it's different from being out there and stuff like that. That really can impact him in those fields and impact first game. We all know how unpredictable week 1 is to begin with. But if you go 1-2 and then finally he's back to his normal self, then okay, yeah, go stay there. But that was stupid not to pay him early. Because now that we know how tight this division can be, now he may just cost himself the game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the Eagles, hey, I'm just betting on history. 20 plus years, nobody has won back-to-back in the NFC East. That's all I'm betting on. And now it's been a 2-horse race for many years. It was Eagles Cowboys, and they would jockey back and forth. And now it's Eagles Commanders. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles won, but wouldn't surprise me if the Commanders won. They have a little bit. The Eagles' schedule is brutal on paper. They have the first place schedule. So that's one of the reasons why it's not as big as a difference as it used to be, but you still have those 3 games where you're playing first place teams, and Washington gets the second place teams. Now, there's a lot of move. All teams aren't the same from year to year, but usually those first place teams are more difficult. So it's a more difficult road.
Yeah, it is. Even that stretch after the buys. What? Hey, you rested? Okay, good. Here's a Packer. Here's this too. So it's like stuff like that. So I'm looking at it. It's a tough road. It's not. Yeah, it's a tough road, but I still thinking when you look at overall talent, overall talent, it wins out.
Oh, I
They seem to
definitely
stay
think
healthy.
the
Yeah,
more talented. That wasn't the question that I was asked. I definitely think the Eagles are more talented. So I don't think Washington is a better team, but I used to have this argument with Jody all the time. The best team doesn't always win in football. That's why we have upsets, and that's why we have things. But yeah, part of it is it's an unbalanced schedule. There's a 32-team league, and you play 17 games. That means you're not playing. Everybody's not playing the same teams. So things can work out kind of weirdly.
and getting back to that with the Eagles and the Commanders, they better win that division because as a 5 seed, you're probably going to the NFC South champion. And who does it look like it's going to be again this year? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The last thing I want to see Tampa is in Tampa in January in a wild card round. We've been down that road twice before. I kind of want to see it.
Yeah, it's a house of horrors. It has been for the Eagles. They did win down there once early in the season when they were healthy. They're rarely healthy when they play Tampa, which is a big part of it.
Chris, we're gonna get into obviously some of the stuff on the docket today. Not very exciting what's on the docket tonight, but we'll talk about it nonetheless. But I do want to open with the question I asked John a little bit ago. What will be the biggest challenge for the 2025 Eagles this year?
It's a boring answer, but it's really true when you look at it. It's their health because Lane, we see what happens when he's not in the lineup. You got a lot of inexperience, somewhat, especially against that CB2. I'm worried about that a little bit, but I think this team's really top heavy. I mean, I think we've seen that in the preseason in terms of you look at the starters, okay, you feel comfortable with them. But if one of them goes down, look at the edge rushers. If you lose Nolan Smith or Jalen Hunt.
Oh gosh, don't even get me thinking about that.
I'm sorry. You lose that. Okay, like wide receiver, you're fine. You lose Saquon Barkley because everybody says about when you look at the whole workload thing, whenever he misses a couple games, 2-3 games here or there. Will Shipley can hold you over for a while, You feel
I think
confident.
Will's had a great summer, by the way.
He has.
Yeah.
Will's had a good summer.
Yeah, you look sharp. You see why he's developing. You see that quickness in the head. You can make that big play explosive ability. Yeah. And that where over time, if he's got to have a much increased workload over a couple of time, and then offensive line, and Jalen and stuff beforehand, we're going to see it early now. If Landon has to leave out or what have you, if he's back day one or not, we're going to need to see that depth. So you need this team to stay healthy, and it's a crapshoot. You don't know. That's the worst part. Not knowing about like, hey, if they stay healthy, what have you, and looking at the depth that they have now.
Is Johnny, speaking of health, is Johnny Wilson a bigger loss than people realize? That dude played 33% of the snaps last year in the regular season. I think people don't realize that. And it was, let's be honest, it was the block for Saquon Barkley. And at 6'6" and 230 pounds, there aren't too many receivers that can block like Johnny Wilson. Now, when you talk about blocking with receivers, it tends to be a bad thing, Chris, because they don't catch the ball that well. That was the case with Johnny, but he was getting better in that aspect. But for this team, for this specific team, that was a big role. And then you lose that particular player. Is that a bigger loss than people realize?
I think so, because when you look at not only for the fact of blocking, you're blocking on the edge. And we all know most defensive backs, they have to make business decisions when it comes to, do I really want to get involved? Do I really want to lower my shoulder? And you have this guy at his size on the outside edge. Yeah, it is big on that one. When it comes to wide receiver screens, it's big on that one. And even in the run game. And then the thing that really had me is, yeah, he has that knack for dropping balls. We all know his knack. But when you saw that preseason game, the first one especially, what he can do when he's really on, then you got the threat of, oh, you want to run these screens? Oh, you want to come out there? Oh, he's only coming down here and block. All of a sudden, you start to develop that, and like, oh well, we got to move back a little bit because we got to respect it. I think he was starting to gain that respect for being a player. He may not be a 50 catch guy. He wants you to get a first down here or there. You got to respect it. So you lose the edge. You lose him on the edge there. You lose him in the wide receiver game. So, and he's not a tight end. He to me, he's a hybrid because he's still in that way, winds up close to that nasty slot, what have you. It's not like the one like, we're not going to the Super Bowl now. Oh, break that. But it's still enough where it's like, okay, you see his impact and it can be felt. Don't get me wrong. But even with Mechie coming in there, I think he can do some stuff that I kind of excited for, especially early downs. But in that run game, I think he's going to be missing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Let me ask you both this. About the blocking with Johnny, do you guys think this puts more on AJ and Devontae to block more? Now, they were going to block anyway, and they're good. They're both pretty good at it. AJ's great at it, and Devontae's pretty damn good at it for his size. But is more of that blocking that you got with Johnny Wilson going to be put on those receivers? And why I think that's a concern is, AJ, that's harder on a receiver. It's like ticks on the body. You eventually it wears down a little bit more. AJ missed 4 games last year. I don't think we want to go time without those guys. Do you think that's at all an impact, or will they just play the game a different way?
I think there's ways you can get around it. I think the good thing, one thing they like to do already is split out Dallas Goedert, so you can just probably incorporate that more. Will there be more of a tell potentially? But the fact you split them out a little already, and instead of just going, okay, he's an inline guy, because I think if you saw Grant Calcaterra going out there more and Dallas was not there, it's like, all right, yeah, run's going this way, way. All right, let's go straight way. I think they can get away with some of that stuff. Maybe you run more counters, so that way you overload that one toe and just make it less the count. Look at the backside count, and just run try that. There's little creative ways they can do around that, but instead of just going like, oh yeah, we're just lining Johnny out. Yeah, good luck. We'll just run behind him. Yeah, you kind of miss that.
I said before you came on, who's the biggest winner? I hate to call him winner when somebody gets hurt, but the biggest winner in the Johnny Wilson injury, E.J. Jenkins, Chris Franklin.
Yeah.
E.J. Jenkins, because he can move a little bit. He's up to 260. The Eagles think he's going to be a good blocker now. You do it differently, though. You flex him out, as you mentioned with Dallas Goedert. So you might have more 12 personnel versus 11 personnel. And you don't have that, Grant's a great hands, improved player, but he's not the best blocker in the world. I think EJ can do a better job in the blocking aspect of it. I think he might make the team because of that injury. Am I crazy? Give me my 53. That's one of my surprises.
I could see that happening, even just for the fact that, okay, like, okay, we don't want to guarantee one guy on defense. Let's add him up a little bit, have him up for his game, maybe even and I don't foresee them trying to either want to practice squad 3 times early and burning him, bringing him up and then trying to get him through waiver. Yeah, I can see that happening right now. So I wouldn't be surprised. The thing with him, like Johnny, is when it comes to big times, like, see, if you need him to catch the ball, for some reason,
I think EJ will catch the ball too. I think he'll catch it. Although he had some trouble late in camp. He had a couple drops, but we'll see. We'll see.
Chris, back in the wide receiver room, though, and I think it's made maybe a little less complicated with the injury to Johnny Wilson, but I'm going to pose to you and each, and/or would you keep Ainias Smith or Darius Cooper? Now, I personally think they're going to end up keeping both of them, but it's possible they don't, or they need to go with EJ Jenkins, like John just said. If you could only keep one, Ainias or Darius Cooper, where are you going?
I know it's not going to be the popular opinion. I'm going Ainias. And for me, it comes down to special teams because of that little tweak that the NFL made in regards to the kickoff, where you can have a third person back there in the landing zone, where you can either have 3, you can move freely around, they can help block whatever. His punt return ability, and I think that goes a big way if I have to use that. Also, I'm so high. I still think that you can use him in a way, and I hate to say his career path is turning into Steve Austin's, where it's not really, you don't see him on the field as much. But
Right.
I think you can use him. You can use him in little creative ways in the backfield,
Manufacture touch ways, which the Eagles do not do, but they always talk about. So we want to get involved. We want to get them involved. They said the same thing about then they go, oh, you know what? Forget about that. We're just going to run what we run. But yeah, I hear you. Chris is right. They talk about it all the time, and they want to develop that part of the game, but they never do. So, yeah,
so much. I just see so much you can do, because when he's going and he's healthy, and you look at Texas A&M, when you just try to superimpose.
Oh yeah, he played everywhere. He played from the backfield. He can do a lot of different things, but that's for Kyle Shanahan, not the Philadelphia Eagles. It's just proving that out. But that is a tough one, because I think Ainias can do more. He's got the higher pedigree. He's the draft pick. He's the potential punt and kick returner. He's the manufactured touch guy. He can play receiver as well. He started to get a little bit better. Ran those 2 slants and got separation against Cleveland. But Cooper has made more splashy plays as a receiver, and people notice that. Maybe they keep them both, but here's I'm going to throw another wrinkle at you, Chris Franklin, to your special teams, which I think is very astute. Avery Williams. What the hell are you doing with Avery Williams?
I'm adding him to the practice squad and elevating him and keeping him around that aspect. To me,
all right.
I just don't know.
I don't even think he should make the team, but I get this feeling that the Eagles want him on the team. They constantly talk about him. He's a core special teamer, yada, yada, yada. I don't see it, but
I talk more about him and try to downplay the Cooper thing so I can hide Cooper in case I really have. I think they both make it on there. I do, but I think I try to hype up Avery Williams a lot more. Like, oh yeah, this guy's great. Nothing for it. Oh, don't worry about Cooper. Nothing to see here. Avery Williams is good. Avery Williams is good.
Yeah, maybe.
Who's that guy?
Maybe.
No. Cooper, stay back there. Don't say anything. Don't talk anything. And
now the one thing about Avery, he seems very sure catching. As a punt returner, he's very sure catching the football. Ainias is kind of a.
Yeah.
It's an event. It's an event when he's back there. It's what Nick would always say about Britton Covey. Well, the first thing with punt, you got to secure the ball before you do anything else. You can't turn it over. So that might hurt Ainias, because he's just not consistent enough catching the football as a punt returner.
Yeah, that it does in that aspect, but I also look at it when it comes to, even though I know it's preseason, when you're down the red zone and you get your opportunities, what do you do with the opportunities when you hit the targets down there? And he's done well down there in the
Yeah.
targets, and
Oh
touchdowns.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I think that's a big key. Granted, if I have a guy like 3 or 4 yards off me, which I still for life don't know why they're even running that, like a guy running soft coverage at the goal line, and you let that receiver do a slant inside the slot, yeah. But anywho, yeah, he was making the best of his the targets inside the red zone there, and I think that plays a role too.
Chris, who are you most excited to watch tonight in the Eagles versus Jets preseason game number 3? I know your excitement is boiling over right now.
Crowd's going mild right now. But
That's part of going into MetLife Stadium, the crowd going mild.
It is.
It's dark and gray. The whole stadium it's a big gray. Yeah. I don't like that stadium. And but the crowd goes mild. I like that description.
it's only because I'm looking at, I want to see how they bounce back, and this is a last chance. This is another interesting decision that they're going to have to make. I want to see Kyle McCord. I want to see what he does. That was awful last week. There's no way to put it around it. It was bad. It was bad.
Well, who was worse
was
though?
bad.
I thought he was better.
He was definitely better, but it was pick your pile of shit. That was basically what it was.
Yeah, that one there's only 3/4 instead of But I want to see how he does, and if this is a chance, if he flashes anything, because I was looking at that game and I'm like, you know what? I was at the point of saying, you know what, maybe you try to sneak him on the practice squad at this point, because I frankly I haven't seen it. So I want to see how he bounces back.
So are you keeping 2 quarterbacks and going the practice squad, or you cutting them both? You're not keeping DTR, are you?
I was going to keep DTR.
Oh,
I really
wow.
was. Because some of those things, I forget the tackle, was it Mims or whatever. That lookout block, it wasn't even a lookout. If you're going to do a lookout block, if you get beat so badly, they just go, oh, look out! Don't even say anything. You just turn around, and go, oh, okay, and then you sack it, and you saw what happened with that. It was bad.
In a weird way, I'm excited to see, and well, excited is the wrong word. I'm excited to see the Jets quarterback. Adrian Martinez. I don't know if he's going to play, but here's the reason why. He was the UFL MVP. Now, who cares, right? I agree with you, but
Birmingham,
I do. Yeah, Birmingham Stallions, UFL MVP. But my assumption, and this goes way back because I'm old, to the old World League of American Football, where guys would go over there and get to play and develop. Brad Johnson went over there. Jake Delhomme went over there. Kurt Warner went over there. I think you have to play the position to develop. I don't think you can develop well behind the scenes, getting the occasional third team rep or doing scout teams. So I don't know how you fix that for the Eagles, but somebody like Adrian Martinez, that goes out and was a decent college player, and he goes and plays in the UFL and has a lot of success, and now he's back. I think that's the better way to go about it when you're talking about bottom roster. Obviously not. You can't risk top tier prospects, but if you're talking about developmental guys, let them go play, man. You can't learn against air.
and that's why I wish there were more UFL teams. Even it's almost like double A as compared to triple A, the European Football League. They have still around still. That's still up and running. I wish they had ways where it was during the season where you go, all right, Kyle, listen, you're not going to get play here. Even if you make a team and you hold a clipboard where you're just standing around there smiling, going, hey, I might tell you, you're not coming in there unless you're an emergency guy. At least like you say, yes, sir. I wish they had it incorporated more when they ran the line. It'd probably be a profit loss, but at least you get a lot of these guys who, like you see what happens with Major League Baseball. A lot of these guys that keep fresh and keep running. Johan Rojas, he's going down there supposed to get at bats. He's doing okay, better doing some of that stuff. So I wish it was something you saw something along the lines of that, but yeah, it's really tough. You can try to do all the virtual reality you can in the world.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can try to run 7-on-7s as much as you can in the world on a Friday, what have you. It's not the same as seeing a live blitz and the threat of somebody coming in and knocking you out, as opposed to just going,
Yeah. It's
"Oh
not the
no, thud,
same as
can't touch
seeing
a red shirt." Okay.
it's not the same as seeing a predator on ice skates on grass, whatever the hell that means. But that's what Cam Jurgens called Myles Garrett. To see that coming at you live and in color, that's a little bit different from the virtual reality stuff. So, yeah, I mean, reps mean so much for the quarterback position. And the bottom line is when Tanner McKee went down with his finger injury, Kyle's getting all the second team reps. So I think he's won the job, but we'll see how it shakes out. I guess they could be hiding Dorian Thompson Robinson. Wouldn't be the strangest thing in the world, but well,
Something tells me they're not hiding Dorian Thompson.
week one, Chris Franklin. I'm at the point where, well, it may not be long term, but you got to stick with the Dorian Sidney Brown week one. Where are you with those two particular positions?
I'd rather keep Sidney. I'd rather keep Sidney just because safety. Look at how pretty much thin and the uncertainty we get. Makuba, I know he's showed very good things, but he's been being dinged up a couple times. So
Yeah,
health wise, you get that. So you need him.
that ain't good. That ain't good. First
And
training camp, he's hurt twice.
The Adoree Jackson thing. I'm leaning. See, this is a good time. I'm not doing the 53 competition this year because I'd be one leaning on cut and then bring them back.
Well, that screws with me. I hate that rule, Chris. I hate the new rules because it makes it easier for GMs. I want to make it hard on them. Give them a challenge. You know, if you want to keep a veteran, you got to keep them. Now they can do all this. Hey, wink, wink. We're going to bring you back. We're going to put you on the practice squad. I don't like that. Hey, because it cost me the 53-man pool last year, mainly. But I don't like it because I
think Darius Cooper is going to cost you this year, John.
It might, but I had Gates making the team because he deserved to make the team as the backup center, and the Eagles made a freaking deal, put it in his contract. I didn't even know you could do that. To say, hey, we're going to cut you, but we're going to bring you back. We're going to elevate you, and we're going to put you on the roster. That's bullshit, Chris Franklin.
And I think it's going to be addressed in the next CBA. I think something's going to happen. No one say like they're going to basically they want to try to get their players to push forward a little bit more. Yeah. But it's crazy, and it's something you got to take into account. And I know Adoree, I think he's making like 1.3 million. It's nothing major, but the fact that it's guaranteed, and every little bit helps in case you need to make roster moves along the season, bring guys in, bring guys out, and the lingering effects that impacts it a while. So that's why I wonder about him being one of those week one cuts, and then all of a sudden week two.
I'll tell you who that is for me. It's not Adoree because they need Adoree too much. I don't think they can fuck around with Adoree, but Brett Toth. I could see him getting cut on Tuesday next week and then starting against Dallas on September 4th.
Another guy. Yep.
If Landon's not ready.
He's done it before, and he's stayed around besides going that Cardinals for a little stint. He stayed with his organization through many of the things that a practice squad guy had or in any active roster. I can see him like helped.
But see, I'm overthinking it, Chris. I'm overthinking all this shit because of this stupid rule and these stupid. I hate it. I hate it.
There's a lot of rules, man. They keep adding them, John.
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's the thing. I can see Adoree have same thing happen, but they elevate him like, listen, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. When we sign a contract, we may throw 50,000 extra or whatever the difference was for that first week. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We'll add something so you get it.
Yeah.
But,
come on, NFL, get your act together.
Adoree's a guy I'm questioning. I have a question about when it comes to that. I think he still plays week one. I do, but is it elevation or is it active roster guy?
Chris, a necessary evil here. I got to ask you, and you can shoot me down, okay? Because John has shot me down on it many times.
All right, let me get ready. All right, what's up?
Is there any concern at all about AJ Brown's hamstring?
All right, so Zayden's there's no concern. The only concern I would have is if it kept propping up, saying like, okay, he's less than 100%, and it lingers in like week 7, 8, and it keeps going down, and he plays instead of like resting, what have you. But no, from all accounts, what I've heard, I don't have any concern. I think he'll be good to go.
Yeah, I think so too. Chris, great stuff today, man. We appreciate you doing it as always. We love talking to Chris Franklin here on Bird. I told you last time we didn't have you on for a bit. I had comments. They were coming from my head. They were like, I'm not watching Bird 365 anymore unless you get Chris Franklin back on. I'm like, oh, shit. I got to call Chris. So we appreciate you coming on, brother. Make sure you guys follow him at C Franklin News and read all his work at NJ.com. Chris, one of the best in the business, man. We appreciate you doing it today.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, buddy. You going tonight, by the way?
Nope.
All right.
I'm sorry.
God, you're lucky.
John's like, shit, you're lucky.
Shit,
I might,
shit.
John, reroute your GPS to go to Chris's house.
Yeah,
and have some beers and watch the game.
All
All right, Chris, thank you, man.
All right, thank you guys. See you.
See you, bud.
Chris Franklin joining us right here on Birds 365. Great stuff there, John. We didn't take a break yet, so I should probably get one. I'll take it around 55. Your last couple thoughts, John, here. We got 10 minutes left to go on the show. Preseason game tonight. I did want to do a full roster prediction, but we could probably do that on Monday. John will run down the 53-man predictions. At that point, I'm not sure how close you are to finishing up your thought. I know you guys do it with the beat reporters, but coming into the game tonight, John, I do think there's a couple valuable players to watch in the game. I think the receivers are some. I think the corners are some. I think the rookies are some if they play. I don't know if do you think Jahad Campbell will play tonight?
No, I don't.
No? Shit.
No.
That takes some air out of that balloon.
I think that's why Chance Campbell is here. Yeah, I don't think he's going to play. But, the two most interesting guys to me are, well, three are Cooper, for obvious reasons. Everybody's so fired up about Cooper. I think for the Eagles, it's better if he has a bad game, unfortunately, but I think it depends how you look at it. I think if he shines like he did in the first preseason game, I think he's making the team because I think they won't risk him on waivers. I think I think you're risking your title this year, John. I think you're risking it with Cooper, man. Yeah, I think if he's nondescript, they'll try to get him on the practice squad, but we'll see how that shakes out. The most important ones to me are Mechie and Bennett because they just got here and they might be meaningful contributors. Yeah, right. And they'll both be playing. So those are the two most meaningful to me. EJ Jenkins. My buddy EJ Smith from the now PHLY.
Right, that's right. He left the A. He switched up, so that's good.
So a little shout out to EJ, who will be there, thankfully. At least some people will be there. EJ Jenkins, for the reasons I talked about, the Johnny Wilson injury. I think that's interesting. Montrell Johnson's a guy I like. Anais Smith, who we also talked about. Byron Young, who I like evidently a little bit more than the Eagles. Mac McWilliams as a guy's going to make the team that's going to have to play tonight. Ty Robinson, guy's going to make the team that's going to have to play tonight. Guys like that.
We'll see how it all shakes out tonight in the preseason game. Eagles versus Jets tonight to close out the preseason. The preseason games start, they go like this, and then they just quit. The first one was pretty fun, actually. I enjoyed it. Tanner McKee was throwing dimes everywhere. Darius Cooper was emerging. Johnny Wilson made some big catches. The first preseason game was a lot of fun. And now we're going into preseason game number 3. Not as fun. John, we'll do a little pregame tonight, not long, and then we'll do a little postgame tonight, and then we'll wrap that thing up. And get out of there. Feel free to do the post game from the car if you want to get out of there quickly, John. You just let me know whatever you want to do with it, and we'll do that tonight. John, great stuff tonight, man. I'm going to take a commercial break because we haven't taken one yet, and then I'll close up the last couple of minutes. Your final thoughts before that preseason game kicks off tonight.
I'm already dreading hitting the New Jersey Turnpike at about.
The minute you get up to North Jersey, John, it just feels like a New York suburb. There's so many cars and traffic and people drive. It's just a night.
Last 10 miles or so, and it's going to be rush hour too. So I'm going to try to leave early, but we'll see how it shakes out. But hopefully I'll make it, and then we'll have a pregame.
Yeah, right. All right, J-Mac, good stuff, man. I appreciate you doing it today. We'll catch up with you tonight before the game. All right, brother?
All right. See you, everybody.
All right, thanks, John. There's Johnny Mac joining us here on Birds 365. Great stuff from Johnny Mac here this week. Final preseason game is tonight for the Philadelphia Eagles. All right. Not a very exciting football game, but as I mentioned before, there's only 24 max of these things. So I like it whenever the Eagles, are out there in an Eagles jersey and they're playing football. So I'll be watching it. I'll be tuned in. We'll do a pregame show and a postgame show. I will not be streaming the full game tonight. There's just no way I can do that. So we'll be live pre and post for anybody that wants to check in. We appreciate it. We've actually had pretty good numbers of the preseason. So I appreciate everybody who does tune in. Click that like button, click that subscribe button, drop your comments in the chat below. All right. JD3 says, get that ad in before. Let me do that. Let me run the ad real quick. I'll take a 3-minute break and then we'll do a little bit of Zander time today. Won't go too long, but I do appreciate all of you guys for doing it. Stay tuned, everybody. I'll be right back. I'm not ending the show just yet. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. 3 minutes here on Birds 365.
The following is a presentation of JAKIB Sports.
If you're a small business owner or you work for a company that loves the birds, you need to react fast before we've used up our entire ticket allocation. And here's why. In celebration of JAKIB Media's new partnership with Savvy Seats, JAKIB Media will give you a pair of VIP tickets for any game on the 2025 schedule, home or away. And we'll give your company or your boss a 20-week media sponsorship package across the #1 digital network for Eagles coverage, JAKIB Sports. And that includes all of our game day coverage. Cost for your business or company? About $50 a week. Let's recap everything. 20-week sponsorship package on JAKIB Sports, including commercial spots, live reads, and liners. Inclusion in all of our game day coverage, including the soon-to-be-announced Green Zone, and a pair of tickets to the home opener or any game on the 2025 regular season schedule. Remember, that's home or away. If you're in Kansas City and you want to go to the game against the Chiefs, no problem. If you live in Florida and you want to go to the game in Tampa Bay at the end of September, no problem. Text Krause at 267-261-3428. That's 267-261-3428. And remember, do it quickly before this incredible gift is gone. JAKIB Sports and Savvy Seats put you right in the action with VIP seating as we are proud to announce our partnership for the 2025 season with Savvy Seats. Text Krause right now at 267-261-3428. That's 267-261-3428. And pick your game today. If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody. I don't know where my music went. I lost my music. Good to see everybody back in here, though, for another Birds 365. A little Zander time here on the show today. Preseason game tonight, the final preseason game of the year, and then we'll get right ready. We'll start to get ready immediately for that Eagles-Cowboys opener. 13 days away, everybody, from that opener for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to kick off versus the Dallas Cowboys. That should be good, man. That should be really good. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm ready to wrap up this preseason, though. For players tonight that I'm excited to see, a little bit of Ja'Cory Bennett. I think he's a guy that we want to watch, especially if he's going to be the guy that we want to see, become the cornerback too. So we'll see about him. And then obviously Darius Cooper and some of the receivers, I want to see what they can do tonight. It's kind of hard because you don't have a good quarterback tonight, or you don't have a good offensive line, and it all kind of flows together. So you don't have a great offensive line, your quarterback struggles more because of it, and then you have the receivers who don't have a lot of opportunities to catch the football. So still plenty of stuff to look for tonight in today's matchup, but nothing crazy. And I don't anticipate it'll be a full throttle type of game. Jason, you bring up a good one as well. McWilliams, I think, is a great one as well to watch in tonight's game. He's a rookie who I think's had a pretty good camp, Jason. You don't really hear fifth-round rookies that play or that have a big role. And I don't think he's going to have a huge role, but I think overall he's had a promising camp for what the future of that player can be. So in a pretty good shape with him. He's a guy to watch for tonight as well. Ja'Cory Bennett tonight. Will Ringo play? Probably not with the quad injury. I don't know, man. I'm just out on Ringo. I really am. I got a sour taste in my mouth on him, and I don't think he's built for Philly. I don't think he's built to play in the NFL long term. Unfortunately, maybe it does happen. I don't want to put a ceiling on the player, but we'll see. All right, we will see what happens. All right, appreciate everybody for being here today. Flexen's in here. James is in here. Connie Lingus is in here. Connie, what's up, Connie? I'll catch you later. 2 days later, brother. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks, everybody. Connie's calling me a cutie. Classic. Thanks, Connie. Reyes, my guy. That's him in my profile pic. All right, everybody. I appreciate all of you guys for being here today. Hit that like button. All right. Subscribe to the channel. We've had great viewership all through training camp. Training camp is now done. The preseason will wrap up tonight. And then we're on a quick 13-day run toward the Eagles and the Cowboys. Home opener. All right, the banner drop. That's going to be an exciting night in Philly, so no doubt. Appreciate all of you guys doing it today. Hit that like button. Stay tuned, 2 to 6 today, the National Football Show. Pre-game show tonight will probably be 6:30-ish, and then I'll go live for about an hour, and then we'll be live again post-game. JD3 says, tell us about the green zone. JD3, I'll have more information on that probably on Monday. It's basically just going to be a play-by-play of every game this year. It won't be me, JD3, but Krause will do a play-by-play of all the games this year on the channel. And it basically just means our full encapsulating coverage of the games this year, JD3. We're going to be live basically all day for all game days. All right, so we're going to have tons of content across the channel on game days this year. So that's going to be an exciting time. And I'm looking forward to doing that. So appreciate all of you guys for doing it. See you next time, everybody.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.